Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women to own businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, President and CEO of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, and award-winning author. Tonight's show is partnered with ADP, the go-to place to better build and manage your business. But of course, welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have a special guest, Jonathan Beskin, owner of SinglesSwag.com. Jonathan took an idea and $2,000 and turned it into a $60 million global business in less than 5 years, all while struggling with mental health issues he has battled since childhood. He calls the secret to his success healthy obsession. Author, mentor, and obsessive entrepreneur, Jonathan inspires audiences of seasoned professionals and newbie entrepreneurs alike, showing the world that all you need is a great idea, a growth mindset, and a dash of healthy obsession to achieve your goals. He's not only a digital advertising and e-commerce expert, but a dedicated advocate for the mental well-being of entrepreneurs, offering refreshing insights and encouragement on the topic of channeling challenges of mental illness into positive action that has the power to change lives. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Jonathan Beskin. How are you, Jonathan?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I'm excited to have you on, and I cannot wait to hear your story. But before we dive into all of this, why don't you tell my listeners just a little bit more about who Jonathan really is?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and always glad to be here. I am a digital advertising entrepreneur. I started my first company, Single Swag, in 2016 when, as you mentioned, I had $2,000, really essentially no money. I pulled together $2,000 at the time and grew it. It's over $60 million in revenue in under 5 years. Now the company has done over $80 million in revenue. I also acquired another company in 2020 called Paradise Delivered, and both these businesses are subscription boxes. So essentially, people sign up for our service. We recharge them every month, and as long as they don't cancel, they can cancel any time. We resend them a box of full-size women's lifestyle products, so bath and beauty products, jewelry, fashion accessories, books, food. So it's a common model. No one else is focused on marketing to single women, and that really was the differentiator that kind of led to the success and some of the success we had in advertising. But anyways, that's kind of the business. Who I am is a 42-year-old single entrepreneur, single dad, living in South Florida.
All right, so we're gonna backtrack just a little because you have a absolute story to tell. You talk a lot in your bio about mental illness, so I want to talk a little bit about that. But before we jump into that part of your life, I really want to know a little bit more about Jonathan. So how did you determine that entrepreneurship was the place for you?
Yeah, well, it didn't come easy, and I had a lot of neuroticism, a lot of anxiety, a lot of aversion to risk my entire life, and I kind of went to college. I went to undergrad at Florida State and studied finance, and I kind of followed a traditional career path in banking. It wasn't very exciting. I was a branch manager. I did a few other jobs, but I was never really happy, and I always thought I was capable of doing more, achieving more, but I never really had, I guess the idea, but also the mindset that I was capable of doing something like kind of what I've done. And a lot of fear of rejection from peers. A lot went on that prevented me from doing that. I ended up going to business school in what they consider kind of an executive program. So it's designed for working professionals, so I could do it while I was working full time. And in the course of that program, a lot of the curriculum was centered around case studies on businesses. And we studied some businesses with a recurring revenue model. And I decided at that point that I wanted to start a business. When I started that program, I was really looking to make myself more attractive to potential employers. I wasn't really getting looked at for the types of jobs that I wanted in senior management positions. So I thought having an MBA would do that. But about halfway through that program, based on what we were studying, I decided I wanted to start a business, a recurring revenue model business. And that's kind of where it was born. I was literally sitting at home one night in a small apartment with my son, who at the time was 5, and I saw people posting on social media, and they were posting going out, having a great time, and I was sitting here lonely, sad, kind of alone, not dating anyone, and I thought that single people might like a gift, and people may not have received something in a while, and it's kind of a stigmatized group in a way. And I looked, and no one had a subscription service that was focused on marketing to singles. And at that's kind of where the idea was born, and I kind of went off and running from there.
Wow. I like that. But the thing I love is that you said earlier, too, that your focuses have been on women. So how did you become the actual expert on what women like in those boxes?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't really classify an expert on what the women like in the boxes, and the reason why I have a great team now, and we really have a formula of how we curate the boxes, and we do really have to ensure that what we're putting in the boxes is very diverse and can accommodate. We include the same items every month, so it has to be attractive to a variety of women from all over the world. And, my expertise, when I started the company, I had the idea for men and women, and I was thinking about myself, and but really, I pretty quickly learned after doing some initial research that women were really the consumers for these subscription services. And at the time, the platform on social media where it was most important to cultivate a following and build a community with engagement was Instagram. Now I think that shifted a little bit in the current environment to TikTok, but and Instagram may not be as relevant, although it is still relevant. But I thought that was going to be more doable with women. So that's kind of the reason why we decided to focus on women. Certainly, as the business has progressed, been doing it now for over 7 years. Although I don't use a lot of the products we include in the boxes myself, I definitely have become more of an expert on women's products and what our subscribers will enjoy.
Okay, I like that. But I do like that you do have a team, that they can give you that insight, but also we all know that as women, we love cute things. We like things that are meaningful to us. So to have a subscription like this, I think is pretty brilliant on your half. But I want to talk a little bit more too and dive into your early onset. And you have talked about, like I said, that mental illness is something that you have dealt with all your life. Talk a little bit about your story and what was the fear of everything around you that actually put you into that state. And then how have you continually been able to move forward and doing the things that you're doing with continuing having the mental illness that you, have described in your bio?
Yes, there's really a lot there to discuss, but from what I remember early on in my childhood is that I just really wasn't happy. I spent a lot of time, my mom, who I love dearly and is a part of my business now and such an important part of my life that I speak to multiple times a day, kind of struggled and was a single mom, was a elementary school teacher that also taught aftercare. Since I was an only child, I ended up spending a lot of time alone with myself. I didn't have a large group of friends. I didn't live in an area where there were a lot of other kids my age to hang out with. So I started to, when I became kind of an adolescent and into my teenage years, I started to do things to act out and get attention. So I started to get into trouble. I stole my mom's car. I was hospitalized because I was really at that time could have been crying out for attention, but was also depressed and thinking about hurting myself or harming myself. So ever since I was an adolescent, I've been on some form of psychotropic medication, and there's really not a time in my life where I can remember not having some level of anxiety and depression. And there were some particular catalytic kind of events in my life, and I talk about this in my book, but in particular my bar mitzvah. So my bar mitzvah, I grew up a single parent, and my dad saw maybe once a year. And every time I saw him, it was very toxic and the type of person that had a very aggressive kind of confrontational personality. So would basically be driving on like a speedway, with like getting into road rage every time we were out on going anywhere to the grocery store. But it just and then at my bar mitzvah was kind of where he got up in front of the congregation and made a speech. Instead of congratulating me on this kind of monumental achievement, if you're a young Jewish person, he got up and made a speech speaking negatively about my mom, was asked to leave. And there are just some of these events that are so toxic and really difficult for people to even believe or understand why someone would behave this way. And that kind of continued. So I always kind of struggled throughout my life, as I got older with anxiety, depression, and at points it led to different types of even paranoia. So I was convinced after I stopped speaking to my dad, even as an adult, that he was going to do things to me and that he was going to harm me financially, harm me physically. I tell a story, and some of it is so irrational that he was going to hire a cleaning person that I had coming to my house to put things in my food, and that I would feel differently when I ate this food because, I was so concerned that my dad had such vitriol and such hatred towards me because I had the nerve to stop speaking to him. So anyways, all of this led to eventually being hospitalized again as an adult. And this is before I had my business, before I kind of had the success I have now. And that was based on a pretty serious depressive episode and anxiety. And anyone who's ever really faced major depression knows that it's just a lot of helpless feelings that are really difficult to control. And for me, it was a lot of racing thoughts, a lot of just toxicity, a lot of catastrophizing. And fortunately, as I kind of talk about in my book, and you alluded to in the introduction, part of what I've been able to do for myself that I've now written about in my book and I'm trying to help others with is really channel this energy, because what I've come to realize is that this is not going away from me. This is something that's biological. This is something that is inside of me and that I'm really not going to be able to control. So what can I do to not have that be such a black cloud over my entire life? So what can I do to use that energy into something positive, which is essentially what I've done. And I've had a life-changing business for myself and my family, who's really my son. And it's been a pretty exciting journey over the last couple of years. And looking back over, kind of my lifetime, it's pretty amazing to see, how far I've come from kind of where I started and some of the things that I've had to deal with.
Yeah, that sounds like a awful lot. And it's hard enough, like you said, to be, you had a single parent, being raised by a single parent, but then knowing that you were constantly alone. And then the one person that you would want to have reach out to because he was not a part of your life on a regular basis is your dad, that he made it even worse, that negativity. And I absolutely agree that when you hear something over and over and over, you eventually start to believe that is who you are. And that is what, what makes who you are, and all the things that come with that. The thinking of, like you said, somebody's going to come and do something to your food. I mean, all those mentally things that just stick with you. But a thing that I love is that you were so aware of what was going on with you at a very early age, but realized that in order for you to move forward in life, and I'm sure you obviously have had some help throughout the years to get to this point, but to realize that in order for you to have a healthy life, and then to live, is you took that, like you said, you took that energy and you just rechanneled it so that you could use it more positively to move forward. And then realizing that obviously you are not the only person who's gone through this, but at the same time, you have the ability to continue to grow with yourself, but help other people who have that same mindset and, have that same fear in their life that they've gone through. Because mental illness, I think everybody has experienced it, but I believe to some degree, as we all know, it's different for everybody. And, it affects people in a lot of different ways. And for you, you have truly been able to capitalize it in a way that where, like you said, it's benefiting you. It's also, I'm sure, very helpful for your son to see that when you have a situation in your life that you can turn it around in a positive note, in a positive way. So your story is incredible. And the think that the things that you've done here, you've turned into the single swag guy. So, having this as a business, I think is important as well. So you say that your family, your mother is a part of your business on a regular basis. How has your son been a part of your business, or have you involved him in any way to help him understand that this is what it takes to excel if you want to be a business owner?
Yeah, I wish my son was interested in my business. He's 14 years old and is pretty much only interested in playing sports. He's a big lacrosse player and Snapchatting with girls and his friends and this type of thing. But I think one thing that I think hopefully my son realizes, which I'm pretty confident he does, is that I kind of came from nothing, and that's part of the mantra I put out there on my social media channels, and I try to reinforce about myself, because I one of the things about my story, which we didn't discuss, is I grew up in an area of Boca Raton, Florida, that's known as kind of old money, very wealthy families live here, and I grew up in a very lower middle class way in that area, and there were a lot of experiences. I mean, I would get I would be at friends' houses, and some kids would get invited to stay for dinner, and I wouldn't. There were mothers that would ask leading, passive-aggressive, negative leading questions about my mom and who she was dating, and a lot of judgment and things like that. And I think my son is now, because I've had some success, is growing up in a privileged way. Right. And the challenge is now to, have him have a similar mentality to me. I definitely don't wish upon him or anyone else that he has some of the same mental struggles and the same kind of afflictions and things that I've dealt with that have been kind of toxic in my life, which I've been able to deal with. But I definitely want him to, have some struggle and be able to know that he has the capability to overcome. And I would love, although I'm not doing it now, I definitely see myself not working for anyone else ever again. So
right.
My son is 14. Within 10 years, he could be out of college, and I'd love to be able to work with him at some point and really impart on him some type of entrepreneurial. It's really a great lifestyle. It definitely has its struggles, and it's not easy. And I've had ups and downs in my business. And now is actually in the businesses we're talking about, kind of a much more downtime for not only my businesses, but a lot of e-commerce companies. And it's important to be able to, deal with all that. And one of the quotes that I always go back to, that smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. And,
wow.
Just that you never kind of know, what's going. We have a boat, and my son and I love to fish here in South Florida. And so it's kind of an appropriate analogy. But, there's always going to be challenges and things that happen out of your control, just like on a boat, just like when you're sailing or doing that. It's up to the operator to kind of determine how to move forward and how to deal with it and how to react.
Exactly. So, well, at least at this point that your son, like I said, doesn't have the interest, but who knows? Maybe somewhere later on down the road, once he gets through college, it may be something he may want to determine that might be something better for him. I think that it's great that he has the option, and like I said, he hasn't gone through the things that you've had to go through in life, which is actually a blessing. But at the same time, it's like I said, giving him the opportunity to learn some of the tough things that he may have to learn as he's growing up. It's good for all of us at one point, as long as it doesn't destroy us and it's not destructive. I think that's the most important part. But as we all know as well, is that whatever comes to us, it's how we respond to it makes a heck of a difference, in our lives. And the way that you have responded has been very positive. And, I'm just thankful that you are here to help others who have gone through what you've gone through. But it's not always about looking at the past. It's definitely always about looking forward and what you do. So talk a little bit to me and my listeners more about your healthy obsessions. You talk a little bit about that in your, in the reading that I was doing in the bio. So what is a healthy obsession for you?
Yeah, so a healthy obsession is, the way that I describe it or define it, is anything that you can do to channel negative energy into a healthy way. So for what that means for me is that I have always had a higher than, I would say, the average baseline level of anxiety. So when I talk about healthy obsession as it relates to my anxiety, it's about how can I channel. So if I were looking at it from a negative perspective, it's, the sky is turning dark. This is going to be a horrible day. It's going to rain. It's going to ruin everything. And then it's, the way that I kind of turn that around with the healthy obsession, this is an easy example, is, well, what can I do today? How can I spin that positively? So for me, it's about how can I channel this toxic anxiety and even depressive and these racing thoughts, this paranoia, into thinking about a business. So how can I think about my business from every angle? How can I think about what my competitors are going to do next? How can I think about what I need to do next to beat my competitors to it? How can I change? A lot of what I do on a daily basis has always been digital advertising, and I'm kind of self-taught in Facebook ads. So I took the company from spending $20 a day to over $10,000 a day, which really led to our scale. We were top 200 in the Inc. 5000, and that was based on Facebook ads, and we were achieving a certain result. And I had a background in financial services and banking, really nothing, but I, because I didn't have the money to hire a sophisticated advertising agency, I did it myself, and it became a healthy obsession. So what imagery can I do differently? How can I change this advertising company? Now we've even been incorporating Chat GPT into what we do. So how can we leverage Chat GPT, which helps us write some of our advertising copy now? What can we include in boxes? So really, asking all these questions, writing them down, thinking about these things. And when I'm thinking about these things, and I'm so immersed in this business, and I'm so immersed in thinking about it from every angle, I'm not thinking about how horrible my life is. Right. I'm not thinking about how horrible my dad was. I'm not thinking about the weather outside and how crappy it is, because I'm taking that energy and turning it into something, for me, that's very positive. For other people, if it's not a business, it could be something to improve their health. I used to be a serious marathon runner. This was in my kind of mid to late 20s. So I kind of implemented some of this at that time to be disciplined enough and to think about how I can be more effective at running marathons. So whatever someone is trying to do to improve their life, a lot of this, and when you're focused on one of these healthy obsessions, which for me over the last 6 to 7 years has really been my business, it's really difficult to go down these rabbit holes of toxicity with these other topics, which really aren't getting me anywhere, or potentially anyone I'm trying to help anywhere.
Right. You're absolutely right. And I like that. Like you said, taking something negative, basically it's like, hey, let's push this to the side and let's deal with the positive. What can we do to improve what it is that I'm currently doing, whether it's personal or professional? So I definitely like that piece of understanding healthy obsessions. So talk to me about your book, because I know you said you have one coming out. So, tell the listeners a little more about the name of it and where we can get it and what it's all about.
Yeah, happy to talk about that. So the title of the book is The Least Likely Millionaire, and the subtitle is How to Succeed When Everyone Expects You to Fail. And that's really kind of my mantra, particularly the subtitle, How to Succeed When Everyone Expects You to Fail, because I don't think there was anyone that I've encountered in my life, from a young adolescent to high school, where I really kind of floundered, got into a lot of trouble, never really had a lot of ambition towards anything, even in college and all this. No one really expected me. Even when I announced this business and I took a big step, which I talk about in the book, of being vulnerable and sharing my kind of idea before I was even making any money with my followers, I wasn't really met with a lot of positivity. So I think that the book is for anyone that may feel doubted, or may feel like they don't have the capability to achieve their dreams. And the book is a memoir, kind of about my life, some of the things we've touched on from an early age, but also includes a lot of actionable steps that individuals, aspiring entrepreneurs, people looking to change their lives, achieve goals, can take to really achieve this, which includes things like healthy obsessions, how to do the research, market research necessary to kind of identify their next business idea once they have a business idea, some of the executional steps about who to hire, and things of that nature. So the book, like I said, is really my life story, along with some pretty clear steps that individuals can take to follow a certain path and become the next least likely millionaire, hopefully.
Excellent. Well, that's right. Well, people can look at success in their own way. And I think that's the thing, the beauty of your story as well, is that it doesn't matter what everybody else thought about you. You believed in you. And that's the key that I think that everybody's going to definitely take away from your book. About success is all about you and what steps you take but you do provide some excellent information that will help that individual move forward and stop really looking in that rearview mirror and worrying about what other people think. Because as you had said earlier too, that when we have those negative thoughts, that's what takes you in that tailspin. It's what turns you into the negative, and then we start to have the fear that we've had, and start to realize that, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And every person goes through this, whether you're in business or not, certain things in our lives that trigger us. But you have definitely, like I said, improved and have showed the world that this is not what my life is about, no matter where I came from, no matter who was there to support me, or whatever the case may be. And you definitely should be patting yourself on the back every day, no matter whether anybody does it for you. So I'm excited to learn more about your book when it actually comes out. So when is your book coming out, Jonathan?
So the release date is August 29th, and you'll be able to get the book on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. It's going to be in some select Barnes and Noble stores. And very excited about it. And a lot of my life now is focused on how I can, kind of cultivate this kind of supplemental business of my brand and the book, and doing more speaking, doing more podcasts like this. So I'm excited to be here and share the story.
Well, we're excited that you're here first to share it with us. So I'm excited about that. And welcome to becoming an author. I love that too. I always love talking to new authors, and definitely as you get started with this one, I'm sure you'll eventually have another one coming out, because that's usually how it works, even when you're not expecting it. So congratulations on that. And then Jonathan, could you tell everybody how they can get a hold of you? So if they are interested in learning more about who you are or wanting to connect with you, and then obviously to get some of your products that you have out there for everybody.
So I have a website. It's just my name, Jonathan, JONATHAN, Beskin, B like boy, ESKIN.com, JonathanBeskin.com. I would also encourage anyone to reach out to me on Instagram at JBeskin. And I'm also on TikTok, where amazingly I've had a few videos go viral, even though I'm an older guy who doesn't really know much about TikTok. Talking about my kind of entrepreneurial story. It's also something my son is incredibly embarrassed by. Anyway, on TikTok at Jonathan Beskin.
All right, Jonathan, you're not old, okay? You have a long way to go before you call yourself old, okay?
Thank you.
It's okay. It's okay to be on TikTok.
I appreciate it. I am a consumer of TikTok, and I definitely realize the power of the channel. And fortunately, I've been able to get some followers. I wish I knew what I should be posting more on a regular basis, but so any of those channels, and I'd be excited to hear from any listeners that are interested in reaching out.
All right. Well, again, I thank you for coming on the show and spending time with me this evening. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I can't wait to look forward to hear more about your book and all of the things you have going on. But again, it's been a pleasure talking to you this evening, Jonathan.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to meet you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. All right. So for everyone else, wow, this has been an amazing evening of sharing and storytelling. I just love it when I have the opportunity to talk with people who really understand sharing their story, making people understand that there is nothing perfect about being in business, and that our life experiences is what makes things so much more important to understand as we are as entrepreneurs. So, my theory is always about being able to get people to truly understand that being a business owner comes with these things that we have are called dreams, but those dreams also turn into fear. And so, when we listen to Jonathan's story, we talked about the effects of mental illness. He talked a little bit about how that negative literally could have destroyed his life, but he didn't allow it. So he learned about living with healthy obsessions to become a success. There are many people out here who have that same scenario who are living it every day. So it leads me to ask you, the listeners, are you aware of what your healthy obsessions is? And if you aren't, how can we help you? If I can't help you, how can I get you to Jonathan so that he can help you? So, of course, reach out to me at Kimberly, WSBI-LLC@gmail.com. Let's chat about your dreams, and let's take those dreams and turn them into goals. And if you want more of your resource for success, monetary donations to support the podcast are now accepted on Cash App, PayPal, Good Pots Tip Jar, or you can go directly to the website at www.wsbilc.com. And of course, if you want to learn more on how to better leverage your business, ADP has identified 5 primary challenges: hiring, financing, access to growth resources, employee experience, and access to payroll and HR tools. Remember, educating yourself on what's the best for your business It's free, people. Learn, get your education. It's free. Contact our ADP representative, Antonia Nuez Samanigo, and I'll have all her information in the show notes so that you can reach out to her to learn more about what ADP can do to help improve your business. And again, we would like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. We will be back next week with more amazing guests. And be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcast. But then until then, enjoy the rest of your evening and good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.